Hi guys, so today we're going to be starting the circle unit. We've got you some background information, that's what this video is going to cover. So we're going to be talking about circles and circumference first. I'm not going to read through all of this. You're supposed to do that on your own. We're going to just focus on day one. We're going to work on, review a circle, and we're going to talk about tangents. I'm also going to give you guys some workbook problems that we're going to review on Tuesday when I'm back, because I definitely want to talk to you about them more. And then I'll do the circle day 2 notes for you. Okay? But let's talk about some review stuff real quick. So I have this paper out. A circle is all the points that are equidistant from the center of a circle. So if I look at this circle here, what I call this is I call this circle E. A radius, which you should know this, is any segment with an endpoint on the circle and the center. So it's a line segment that goes from the center to the circle. And there are 3 radii in this circle. There's radius EF. There's radius ED. And there's radius EC. Notice that when I name these, I always start at the center and work my way out. A diameter is a segment that passes through the center. And goes end to end and touches both ends. And so our diameter in this circle is CD. A chord is a segment that does not go through the center. And so an example of a chord in this circle is AB. A secant is a line that intersects a circle. But for a secant, it must intersect it at 2 points. And so the secant in this circle is line GH. And the one that we're going to talk about the most, and the one we're going to focus on today, is a tangent. And that's a line that touches a circle in 1 point. And so our tangent in this picture is line JK, and it touches the circle at point I. So that's the background stuff that you need to know about a circle. And you probably already knew about radius and diameter. But we wanted to talk about, the other 3 things too, a chord, a secant, and a tangent. Because when we talk about circles for the rest of this unit, you'll hear me say these words. And so just remember that a chord is something that does not pass through the circle or the center. A secant is a line that passes through the circle. And a tangent is a line that touches the circle. And we're going to learn today some rules about tangents. Before we do that real quick though, we want to talk about radius and diameter. I want you to remember that a radius is 1/2 of a diameter. Or that a diameter is double a radius. So I want you to pause the video real quick and see if you can answer these 3 questions. Okay, so you're supposed to answer these questions about radius and diameter. Hopefully you were able to look at those and figure it out. So if DF, which is the diameter, is 10, then DA, which is a radius, is 5. If PA, which is a radius, is 7, then PG, which is a diameter, is 14. If AG, which is a radius, is 12, then AL, which is also a radius, is also 12. And that's important because if this radius is 12, this radius is 12, and all the way around. That will come back later when we talk about tangents, okay? And you can imagine where I'm going if we were to be able to understand that, you can move the position around and still get the same distance. All right. Real quick, just want to touch base on this real quick. If this has a diameter of 8, then the length between X and A would be 4. The length between A and B would also be 4. And then the length between C and Y, since circle C has diameter 10, would be 5, which makes this also 5. And so the real easy question is that AB is 4. But the hard question is, what is the length of AC? And that's 9. And so what we find out is that point B is not the center of that circle, and that's why we can't call it circle B. Because if this circle has a diameter of 9, then its radius will be 4.5. B is not in the radius. So if I were to put another point here called X, we could find the distance between X and B based on the fact that the diameter is 9 and the radius would have to be 4.5. Okay. Another quick review topic is about circumference. This is where we get pi from. The circumference is the distance around a circle. And so we've got to remember that circumference is equal to pi times its diameter. And we can represent that as 3.14 times the diameter, which is what we discussed when we were talking about the formula sheets. So, question number 1 says find the circumference if the radius is 7. Well, the radius is 7, that's great, but what we need to do is we need to do 14 times pi. And so that we get 43.96 centimeters. You also may have to work backwards. In number 3, you'd have to work backwards. What I want you to do right now is pause the video, and I want you to try problems number 2 and number 3 to find either the circumference or the diameter and the radius. Okay, so if the diameter is 12.5, you just multiply that by pi to get the circumference. If the circumference is 136.9, you divide by pi, and that gives you the diameter. You divide that by 2, and you get the radius. And notice I went to the nearest tenth. The other thing that we got to remind you of from the past is area. The formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. And so here, in question number 1, it says the basketball rim has a diameter of 18 inches. Find the circumference of the rim and the area it encloses. Well, for circumference, we can use the diameter. So circumference is equal to pi times 18. But for the area, we have to use pi, but now we have to use the radius, so it's r squared, which is 9, times 81. And so then we find that the circumference of the basketball rim is 56.52 inches, and that the area of a basketball rim is 285.74 inches squared. Remember, all of our areas are supposed to be squared. This second question also gets into whether you're going to choose an area or circumference. It says a Ferris wheel has a diameter of 42 feet. How far will a rider travel during a 40-minute ride if the wheel rotates once every 20 seconds? So a Ferris wheel goes around. Is that a circumference or an area? It is a circumference. So one rotation is pi times 42. But the question is, how many rotations is this Ferris wheel making? Well, if it makes one rotation every 20 seconds, how many does it make in a minute? Hopefully you said 3. And so if a person will be riding the Ferris wheel for 4 minutes, how many times will the person rotate around the Ferris wheel? 3 times 4 is 12. And so the person will go 12 times. So we do pi times 42 times 12. And we find out that this person went 1,582.56 feet during their 4-minute ride, but they actually didn't go anywhere. They ended up right back at the beginning. But if they were to say how far they had ridden the Ferris wheel, they had ridden it that far, which is about a third of a mile. So Ferris wheel moves pretty fast for 4 minutes. About 5 miles an hour. So anyway, this wraps up all the review stuff. So this ends up in video 1. Go ahead and get down these notes. Make sure you got them straight and you understand. And then go ahead and switch to video 2 on tangents.